विश्व में हमने युवाओं की आईटी एनर्जी के माध्यम से अपना एक रुतबा खड़ा किया है और भारत इसके बात के लिए गर्व कर सकता है। दुनिया में हम आंख में आंख मिला करके बात कर सकते हैं। और ये मेरा साफ, मैं हमेशा कहता आया हूं, आईटी प्लस आईटी इज इक्वल टू आईटी। इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी प्लस इंडियन टैलेंट इज इक्वल टू।
Namaskar, good morning, and a very warm welcome to all of you, to all the viewers as well as speakers here, to the second edition of India Transformation Summit 2021. India Transformation Summit is a joint initiative by eGovernance Magazine and LS Technomedia to bring together top policymakers of the governance ecosystem as well as industry leaders on a common platform to discuss the scope, challenges, opportunities, and innovations which are shaping place in the governance ecosystem. In the 21st century, India is now poised to have a true transformation. We had a very remarkable inaugural session today in the morning where we spoke, eminent speakers from different departments spoke about these transformational opportunities in the inaugural session today. The guest of honor was Lieutenant General Rajesh Pant, National Cybersecurity Coordinator in the Prime Minister's Office, who gave us a roadmap for India's transformation opportunities and making of a new India going forward. We also were joined by eminent speakers from the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Government of India, who again outlined their vision of what is their vision of a new India, what are the transformational opportunities, what would be the enablers, where are we today, and where do we intend to go from here, going forward from here. The last 18 months, we all have seen the impact of the COVID pandemic. Not one walk of life was left unimpacted, unaffected by this COVID pandemic. But there was one sector of the system which was working non-stop, even 24/7 during those days, as well as during these days. And this system is the government system. The government departments were open then in April, May, June last year, and were open 3 months back also, when the entire country saw the impact of the brutal second wave, and we are going to see this going forward as well. So what are the enablers of this transformation? What are the enablers of a governance, a transformational governance? And when I talk of enablers, basically I am trying to say the usage of the information technology. How are we leveraging the information technology where India has made a global name for itself to ensure last mile connectivity, to ensure last mile governance to the last person on the queue, to ensure an effective, transparent, affordable, and ease of governance to the last person on the queue. So here I'm taking forward the discussions today of the next, the first panel discussion of this day today. The discussions will carry on throughout the day today as well as tomorrow also. So this panel discussion, transformation, governance to realize the vision of New India, the digital way. So it's really a pleasure and an honor to have here some eminent speakers from different state governments. We are joined here by Dr. Hira Lal. Dr. Hira Lal is a 2010 batch IAS officer from Uttar Pradesh cadre, presently serving as Additional Mission Director, National Health Mission, Government of UP. A very warm welcome, Dr. Hira Lal.
Thank you, welcome, thank you.
We are then joined by Dr. Ashish Srivastav, an IAS officer of 2011 batch from Uttarakhand cadre, Dr. Ashish Srivastav is currently serving as Additional Secretary, Information Technology and Director of Information Technology Development Agency in the Government of Uttarakhand. A very warm welcome to you, Dr. Ashish.
Thank you.
Then we are joined by Dr. Lal Thuamana. Dr. Lal Thuamana is the Chief Executive Officer of Mizoram E-Governance Society. Plus, he is also Joint Secretary, Information Technology in the Government of Mizoram. A very warm welcome to you also, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very shortly, we would be joining by two more speakers in due course of time. Mr. M. Nagarajan, a 2009 cadre IS officer from Gujarat cadre, Director, Higher and Technical Education, Government of Gujarat. And we would also be joined by Mr. Golak Simili. He is the Chief Transport Officer in Ministry of External Affairs, Passport Seva, Government of India. So here I would like to invite Dr. Hira Lal for his opening comments for around 5 to 6 minutes, please. Over to you, Dr. Hira.
Okay, thank you. I welcome all the participants and particularly Dr. Ravi Gupta and his team E-Lets, that you people are doing good job to bring many good practices together, to share the good practices with each other. Actually, Corona has taught us the importance of the e-governance. During the Corona, it is nothing but the e-governance, e-tools, e-enablers helped a lot, because untouchability was in picture by the in due course due to Corona. So during Corona, we had launched a program named in the Model Gaon. The Model Gaon is nothing but the sum total of many innovations done on the ground of district Badahar, which I did as a district magistrate. And we tried to develop the villages, to enrich the villages. In the name of Model Gaon, that project we are running, and we are trying to reach villages and villagers to tell them what is the development, what is the developmental points, developmental agenda, and we are trying to create the demand for the development. For these three, we are using IT and IT as a media and IT as a enabler. So we have created a website that I would like to show you. Please give me the option to share. Acha, this is our website. No. Share. This is our website. Website. This is our website. Through this website, we are connecting with people living in the rural areas, and each and every information which we require to tell them, it is all on this site. And what we are doing, we have taken the phone numbers of Gram Pradhans, self-help groups, and Anganwadi Karyakarta, Navyuvak Mangal Dal, NKY persons, and we are sending our information on their mobile numbers, and we have connecting points through this site. That is, they can register on our this site. They can download our village manifesto. They can connect via email. We do have social media connects. We do have mobile numbers. So through these enablers, e-enablers, we are telling them how to develop themselves, how to develop their villages in order to enrich the villages. We are trying to convert agri of the village into agri-business through farmer producer company, which is a scheme of Government of India and states government. So to connect the villagers, we are using this site and all the social media and e-tools. So this is a good thing, and in last 8 months, we have reached in 21 states and in all 75 districts of UP. So this is the beauty, that during Corona, we did this amazing work through e-governance. And we are doing nothing. We are empowering the people. Knowledge is power. We are imparting the knowledge, required knowledge and best practices, so that they should become empowered by getting knowledge, and by that knowledge they should develop their villages. So in brief, this is the work in the name of Model Gaon, and we are realizing the dream of Mahatma Gandhi of Republic Village and Pura of our missile man. There was a scheme name in the name of Pura that was launched by the Dr. Abdul APJ Kalam Azad Sahab. They both, our Mahatma Gandhi ji and our missile man, tried to do something for the village to make it a developed village. So we are doing this practical in the villages through this IT tool. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hiralal. That is really an impressive initiative, a classic example of imparting knowledge to the villagers and empowering communities through e-tools. And it's also a classic example of, you mentioned how you have tried to rope in several NGOs, self-help groups. I could also say certain foundations and of course, government departments. So hats off to this initiative. And I know that you had done some of the pioneering works in the conservation of water as well. So we'll be having some related questions to that also towards the end of the session. Meanwhile, we are joined by one more speaker here, eminent speaker, Mr. Kumar Vineet. Kumar Vineet is a PCS officer of UP Cadre, currently working as Special Secretary, IT and Electronics in Government of UP. And he's also the Managing Director of UP Development Systems Corporation, UPDESCO. So a very warm welcome to you, Kumar Vineet ji.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting me over here. It is really indeed a pleasure to be with you all again.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Now moving forward, now I would like to invite Dr. Ashish Kumar Srivastava, Additional Secretary, Information Technology and Mission Director, ITTA, Uttarakhand Government, to share his views on this topic of transformational governance to realize the vision of New India through the digital way.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts on the topic. And I can say that e-governance, the initiatives have started long back. But if you see the turning point in the e-governance, as my earlier speaker has told, that Corona pandemic has actually done a lot of changes. So if I can say that the e-governance, the life of e-governance, the journey of e-governance in this country will definitely be classified into two: pre-corona and post-corona scenario. And earlier, it was when you are going with something like in a system, it is very difficult to break status quo. And once you do the IT intervention, you are actually breaking the status quo. So that was actually earlier, it was very difficult to convince the persons in the system that you have to shift to the platforms. And it is not only that the work efficiency increases due to IT intervention, but also it inculcates the good practices in the system, like accountability and the transparency. As well as, in my opinion, it is not only that one should be online, but it is equally important that one should be on time also. So it is not like you are doing the system online and then after that you are dumping. Earlier the files were dumped manually, now the files are dumped in an electronic platform, so IT platform. So that is also important, that any of the e-governance initiatives that should have the timelines linked to it. And also very important thing which I feel is that it should not be the escalation of the job, but it should be escalation of the responsibility. So why I am telling, because it is the system should make itself or evolve itself in a way through IT tools that the work assigned to a particular person should be done by that person. Not like if you are not doing the system has escalated it to the next higher level. So that is more important once you are ensuring the accountability. Now I want to say that after Corona, like the biggest transformation which we require as a country is in the area of education and the health. Where you can say the IT interventions are relatively lesser. More interventions earlier were in the ease of doing business, like your investment policies and the investment. They were more linked to the IT tools, and few areas have been done, like certain smart schools or something, like some smart hospital, telemedicine, and something was done in bits and parcel. But yes, after COVID, now it is really a big challenge for us even today, that how to teach on IT platform, online teaching, because many of the areas which are dark area where there is a connectivity problem. Now the smartphone type of like the gadgets, they are not easily accessible to weaker section of society. So all those issues are there which we have to answer, and most of the governments are actually trying to answer these questions. As a director ITDA, I have this challenge also to let every village have connectivity, as well as the same way is like the healthcare. So healthcare has also very important. It is very important sector where you have to apply IT platform, IT tools to reach, because manually you can't reach to each and everyone. But yes, on electronic platform through e-governance, you can reach to any person anywhere. So right now we are having this conference on electronic mode. Earlier we never thought. I think if we will talk about somewhere in 2019, so it was very rare thing somebody is having platform on e-conferences and all. But now it is very common thing. Everybody is doing it every day. So this is a power of technology, and that's why I am telling you now this is the time where we want to have more and more e-governance, and more e-governance on the social sector. In social sector, that is very important sector, because we are doing in the investment, the infrastructure, manufacturing, industry sectors, but in social sector the interventions were less. Now it is actually really coming up. Most of the time, most of the state governments and the central government is actually focusing on social sector on IT platform. So this is from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ashish Srivastava. You could not have been more correct by saying that the development or the journey of e-governance could be divided into two parts, pre and post COVID. And in fact, COVID might have, in fact, it truly has a paradigm shift on the development of e-governance journey of not only our country, but throughout the world. Around 10 years back, e-governance could be sounded like a more of a progressive thought, or liberty, or a leisurely thought, or as a tool to differentiate out from other competitors. But now this has become a basic survival tool, not only in government, but in business also. So I will come back to you. We have made a note of your points of the requirement of e-governance in the social sector. We would like to know what particularly the government of Uttarakhand is doing under this initiative in your state. I'll come back to you, sir. Meanwhile, I'll invite Mr. Kumar Vineet, the Special Secretary in UP Government IT Department. Mr. Vineet.
Thank you, Krishnaji. When Madame Curie invented X-ray, the woman who changed science, then a question was asked, what is the most important evolution that you see in a humankind? She said femur bone, because that is a bone that can evolve itself, that can reinvent itself. So reinvention or evolving was the most important part, even in human science as well. So when George Orwell wrote in 1948 that what is going to be the world is going to be in 1984, so something that was really revolutionary to think about it at that time. Similarly, when Admiral Grace Hopper was working on Mark II, a huge computer of 1940s, a 5-ton storage device of worth huge 5 MB device, 5 MB, 5 tons. That is how debugging came in. So the evolution process has been very fast in digital terms, if we say in the last 70 years. But let me quote what Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella had to say in maybe last year. She said we had seen 2 years worth of digital transformation in just 2 months. So that is what COVID-19 had made an impact on all of us. So A trillion digital economy by 2025 is what our aim, that is what we really aim to be. And roughly 150 billion incremental value we are going to add to this rapid digitization and process, which is going to evolve the entire economic recovery and address the system shortcomings. So in future, as I perceive as a government officer of Uttar Pradesh, I see that there is a strong possibility of technology-powered development and its impact, particularly in education, health sector, social sector, manufacturing, services at the doorstep, hospital to home, access to education, and of course, making India truly digital. So with the advent of new technology like IoT or blockchain, even now we are already started thinking about life after Google. That is the way, that is the pace at which actually the technology is really working on. So if as a government officer, I have to perceive what is my vision about this concept or the impact of pandemic and as an after effect what is going to be, then to have a digital India, I would really focus upon very high-speed internet availability to Gram Panchayats, which we are already doing in Uttar Pradesh. Secondly, we have to create unique, lifelong, and authenticable digital identity, which can be either through mobile phone, included with a bank account, so that participation is enabled. For example, we have to do a direct benefit transfer, so we can enable a participation, we can identify the person and transfer the direct benefit easily, smoothly, and directly. Then easy access to common service center is very important because ultimately we have to come upon the government to service as a government to citizen services as an enabler, and very next to those services have to come. And most important is the entire scenario, we need a very safe and secure cyberspace in the country. So to seamlessly integrate across department, across jurisdictions, next gen government services on demand, as I can always say, we need to have government service which is available in real time, which is in online, which is on various platforms, be it web, be it mobile, whatever it is. So to do that, government services have to be digitally transformed. Our, for example, our motor insurance, driving license, high school certificate, date of birth certificate, caste certificate, gas connection, banking, Aadhaar card, you name any services, it has to be online. As of now in Uttar Pradesh, more than 267 services are already being served online, where citizen doesn't have to move out of his office, of his home. He just has to apply on the common service center and get these online services done. So delivery of government services have to take place only when they can be digitally transformed. So next part is that transactions have to be cashless to deliver these services. And to do all these things, the most important thing that we need to do is to have a digital literacy. You might have heard in of late, Honorable Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh has launched a very ambitious program to give tablets and smartphones to each and every student who is in graduate, irrespective of his or her economic condition or whatever. If he is a graduate, he or she is a graduate in any of the course, in any of the college or university in the premises of Uttar Pradesh, under the ambience of Uttar Pradesh government, she or he is has the right to take a tablet, which we are shortly going to launch, and this is going to help them in their education and in their further secondary education benefits, secondary job benefits, like technicians, like AC, skill development activities, because skill mission is ultimately the future that we see in another 2, 4, 5 years. So in this way, we need a collaborative digital platform, so that we need a participative governance where citizens' participation, government participation happens equally, happens on a single platform, happens seamlessly. On this premise, I would further add that we need a business process so that we can re-engineer the use of IT to improve these government facilities that we are really going to be implemented through different ministries and departments. For example, forms need to be very simple to fill it up. The what should I say, the fields that we take up in the form should be as simple as possible. as we say, TISS, keep it simple as possible. Then online application concept in government system, tracking, interface, chatbot, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and of course, integration of services and platforms. For example, payment gateway, UIDAI, electronic data is interchange. For example, if I have to fill my form, I don't need to scan and put it up everything. My digital mark sheet is already there on the government interface. I just need to pull it. I just need to have. So there is no point of having any verification or nothing of that sort. Things interchange. Things are on the same platform and they get integrated. So to conclude in that way, I would say that in future in Uttar Pradesh, we are going to have a digital transformation in a huge way where education, health, social sector, manufacturing sector is going to benefit in a very, very big way, where government is going to come to the citizen seamlessly and very, very affordably. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kumar Vineet. The digital transformation of India cannot be complete without the digital transformation of Uttar Pradesh. So our best wishes to you. 67 services you have mentioned, they are already online, and we are looking forward to the day when all the services come under this domain. And you particularly mentioned about the ease of convenience, you mentioned about the forms, the technicalities of the forms, making them less complicated. You also mentioned about the digital infrastructure. Dr. Ashish Srivastava was mentioning about not only giving services online, but on time as well. So there needs to be done a lot to give on-time delivery also. If I'm talking of the bandwidth problem, I'm talking of the digital divide between India and Bharat. So we'll come back to all those points once we are through with our next speaker, Dr. Lal Thumoana. Dr. Lal Thumoana is Joint Secretary IT in the government of Mizoram, and also Chief Executive Officer of Mizoram E-Governance Society. Over to you, Dr. Lal Thumoana.
Thank you so much. As far as digital transformation is concerned, our key initiatives are broadly classified into 5 domain areas. One is digital infrastructure, and we try to improve internet, broadband, and mobile connection in all the villages. And also, we try to upgrade state data center into cloud-based data center. So second is digital services. Like we try to improvement of public service delivery system and the service delivery mechanism. These are very important. And we have recently come out with Mizoram Right to Public Service Act. Those are legal support for digital services and integration of all the existing online public services into a single platform, digital platform, and also adoption of national digital public platform, like try to integrate with DigiLockers and those kind of things. And third one is like digital empowerment. We need to empower actually rural peoples while giving during the transformation concern and educate those kind of villages. And we are setting up village knowledge center in 500 villages, through which we are providing various kind of services like tele-education, telemedicine, and those kind of things, and online education. And also while establishing of digital infrastructure in all the villages to enable us to provide better public services, basic healthcare services, and online education. And the fourth one is promotion of innovation in emerging technology. And here is, we try to create a center of excellence in gaming solution with STPI, Software Technology Park of India. Government of India already approved this center of excellence in gaming solution. We are not only about concerning kind of, like gaming for these children, but gaming is very important in education. gaming is very important in healthcare system also. So we are trying to educate the people this way, and we are trying to develop these kind of things. So this is coming up. And also we are establishing Center of Excellence for IoT, AI, and robotics. And we also established the Startup Innovation Zone. The objective is to assist young entrepreneurs and early stage innovation startup to successfully grow in the business industries. So the fifth one is the professional skill development in IT and management. Actually, for the past 5 years, we never outsourced any software development or building of infrastructure architecture, hardware architecture, cloud architecture to any kind of company. So we have inbuilt team here in the Mizoram State E-Governance Society. So this is international standard. We actually provide ourselves for, like software development, and for the emerging technology. We are building up. At the same time, we provide professional hands-on training to newly graduate in management, computer application, computer science, electronics and communications, and so forth in various disciplines like PMP. We touched the PMP. This is project management professional, and Prince2, Power BI, AWS, cloud computing, RHC, OCP, MCSE, those kind of professional courses we provide them, those newly graduated. We try to, incubate those kind of people so that they can also set up their own entrepreneurs. So we don't want to outsource to outside of the state. So we try to manage within the state itself by the local people. So this is the way how we prepare ourselves for the post-COVID-19, our visions and action plan for digital transformation scenario. That's all about from Mizoram. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lal Tumana. That was Joint Secretary IT from the Government of Mizoram outlining his government's initiatives in the field of digitization. And the role of IT could not be more evident than here with reference to Mizoram, how to bridge the physical distances into digital distances, how IT can be a key enabler in integration of the entire hinterland to the mainlands. So coming to the integration of the hinterlands to mainland, if I can pose a quick question for Dr. Ashish Srivastava. Most of the Uttarakhand is inaccessible, highly mountainous terrain. So could you enumerate some of the major initiatives to bring forward the remotest part of your state to the state headquarters? What are the key initiatives and what are the opportunities for investors in PPP board?
Now the state has undergone a major digital transformation, in which itself is evident that our entire cabinet meeting is on digital platforms. So we have E-Mantri Parishad. So the entire cabinet is actually on digital platform, like all the cabinet proceedings, everything is on digital platforms. So one thing is that this shows the commitment of government for a digital transformation. And this is the direction of Honorable Chief Minister of the state, that our services like the e-district services, which we started as a central project, should be changed into Apuni Sarkar, and that will have 256 government services on digital platform. And on 9th of November, which is the State Foundation Day, 75 services will be actually on for public use. We will launch all these 75 services, and rest will be launched by the March 2022. So why I am telling this? So all 75 services are basically related to health, education, social welfare department, police department, like those which have more public interface. Now, second thing which I want to say is when we are developing this platform, so this software is actually enabled by the accountability thing, like the time frame, the color coding of the files. So if the files are turning into red, then it will be shown to the higher authority and from Chief Minister's office or from the Chief Secretary's office, anybody can see the function of the cutting edge functionary in the village or in the urban area. So all those things can be, and then you have a very good comparison between district, tehsil and the department, so that it will help in the competitive, healthy competition. They inculcate that feeling into the department that you are actually monitored and your things, good things are actually appreciated. The second question which you asked, that the opportunity for the investors, I just want to say that right now our 5,900 villages are in BharatNet 2, which is on PPP mode. So that is done by the government of India. After that, even 400, almost 421 villages will be left without any connectivity, which definitely will give an opportunity for the private investors to come. We have a very good ROW policy, and we have incentive for the remote areas that whatever is your capital investment, the 50% of the capital investment are the 30% of the capital investment are the 50 lakh rupees, whichever is less will be given as an incentive by the state government. Also, we are looking forward for a good and advanced and time effective technologies which can provide internet connectivity and which can improve the internet connectivity in the remote areas. You know that most of the part of Uttarakhand, we share international borders. So that area, we definitely want a good connectivity. So the government, the state government is working on it. Central government is assisting us a lot. But even we have a lot of scope for the private investors to actually do this. So now, as because the IT is very important initiative, like all the departments, you cannot deny IT intervention in any department, as I have told. So, like our Chief Development Officer, who is the 2IC in this district, is actually made nodal for the IT services in the district. So everything, we have a single window system for the clearances of all the IT initiatives which we want. And the government has a good IT park policy. Also, those who are in the service sector can also come to invest in the state.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Dr. Ashish. Wish you all the more good luck in these noble initiatives. And we do look forward to that day when these initiatives actually see the light of the day. Meanwhile, we have been joined here by another.
One request from my side.
Please.
So we are about to 20 past 12. So if you allow me, so I can leave.
Sure. Dr. Ashish Srivastava has an important meeting propped up with the Chief Secretary of Uttarakhand. So,
and that is related to IT only, that IT, the services, the review of those things, what is going on for 9th November.
My best wishes again to you and for the meeting as well. And again, look forward to see you in such knowledge exchange forums in the future. Best wishes and see you in the evening today in the award ceremony.
Thank you, and thank you everyone.
So meanwhile, we have been joined here by Mr. M. Nagarajan, another eminent speaker from the Gujarat Cadre IS Indian Administrative Service, 2009 cadre, 2009 batch Gujarat Cadre, Mr. M. Nagarajan, serving as Director, Higher and Technical Education, Government of Gujarat. A very warm welcome to India Transformation Summit, Mr. Nagarajan. You are mute. Mr. Nagarajan, a very warm welcome to you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Nagarajan. Before I actually come to you, a quick question from Dr. Hiralal, if Dr. Hiralal is around.
Yes, yes.
Dr. Hiralal, sir, आप mention कर रहे थे about community empowerment through the use of e-tools, खास करके आपके जितने भी initiatives हैं, आप बात करते हैं मॉडल गांव की, गांव और देहात की. तो मैं आपसे जानना चाहूँगा वहाँ पर what are the practical difficulties actually in implementing those initiatives? Like Mr. Vineet was mentioning about the bandwidth issue and the issue of cyber security. तो व्यावहारिक problems क्या आती हैं in digital literacy is one term used by Mr. Kumar Vineet. A quick response from you, Mr. Hira.
First and foremost problem is the mindset changing. How to change the mindset? So,
sir, if you can change, switch on your camera, please.
Yes, I have already done. It is taking time. Okay.
Okay, no problem. Please go ahead.
So the first and foremost problem is not the IT connectivity or IT tools or IT related things. First thing is how to change the mindset. Once many people do have IT connections, IT tools, but they are not using it, okay, properly to enrich them to be more happy. So we are trying to change their mindset, and to change the mindset, we are using online tools, online tools. So in my opinion, this is the answer. How to change the mindset.
Yes, here Mr. Vineet Kumar was mentioning about digital literacy. Shayad, that digital literacy would help in overcoming this mindset. Mr. Kumar Vineet, would you like to comment to what Dr. Hiranand just mentioned?
Yeah,
Changing the mindset.
To add to what sir was saying, digital literacy is indeed a very, very important issue that we are definitely going to take up. One is the government at the cutting edge. So A&M in health services, so education services, at that level also we are, the different wings of the government are coming very heavily with the enabling process. So now we are already in a process of giving tablets and the smartphones to A&Ms as well, so that health services can be revamped. You know, the National Digital Health Mission is already in the pipeline, which is already being rolled into, and various governments are planning for it, and indeed in Uttar Pradesh we are also planning for it. So to further what sir was saying, and what you had rightly pointed out, that digital literacy is very important. Digital enabling is also very important. So one is that we need to have a good bandwidth connectivity, easy and accessible bandwidth connectivity. Second is that we need to have a very cheap and affordable and secure device mechanism to access that concept, that system. And third is that we need to have a really good content per se about the department, about the departmental activities, about the policies, about the content, because internet is huge. You can have anything that you can access to, but the jargon, the trash, and actually that what actually we want to have to enable us, that needs to be formulated up. So as I had mentioned earlier, that recently Honorable Chief Minister has announced that tablet and smartphone scheme for all the graduates and all the enabling initial job seeking activity skill development workers. We are taking that part as well. We are taking account for that part as well, where the student can access to the lectures, different lecture making enabling devices may be there, pre-installed. The MDM process will be there, so we can push in the right content which should be there for a student, or which should be there for a skill developer, skill development person, a skill enabled person to access to the jobs. Now, coming one step more, because ultimately we were in a country, or a second world country, where the basic premise of our concept was distrust. You see election, there was distrust. I will put an ink on you so that you cannot vote again. I will announce your name in the voter list so that everyone knows that Mr. Krishna has entered the room. So the concept was distrust. From distrust, now we are entering into a phase of trust. Unless and until you breach my trust, I trust upon you. Only then we can enable the activities. So once we develop a platform on digital enablement, where I give access to the citizen, single access to correlate in different departmental activities. Once email ID and password has been generated, that particular citizen, irrespective of any of the government service, he will be, or she will be able to see what are the services that he had access to in the previous days or months or years, whatever. So that is a very complex activity, but that is definitely going to come in. So enabling citizen and enabling government what should I say, transparency system, is that what has to be matchmade. And for that, we need technological interventions. To develop technological interventions, we need a good policy intervention. So I would take this opportunity to mention a few policy interventions that government of Uttar Pradesh has already done. For example, the manufacturing policy, it was incorporated in way back in mid-20s, and in the initial 3 years, we never thought that we could achieve that level of inputs from the manufacturing sector. and it has crystallized. So second phase of manufacturing policy has also rolled out. We already have more than 30,000 crores of investment in Noida, only in one district. I'm not talking about other packets which are developed in Kanpur or which are developed in Aligarh. Recently, Honorable Prime Minister announced that place, or say in Bareilly or in Lucknow. I'm talking only about Noida. There we have already got 30,000 crores of it. Then we have a startup policy. We are coming as one of the biggest incubators in Lucknow, in our SGPGI, which is going to be one of the biggest incubator in health services in India. Secondly, we are going to be a very big agriculture as well as IT-based incubator in Noida, along with the IIT Kanpur, that is going to develop it in Noida center. So startup is definitely something we are going to pick it up, and we are trying to handhold. In fact, even in our organization in which I work in, we are also trying to promote startup to come into the software development activity so that we can handhold, so that new concept can come in, because that is what startup is all about. Next is the data center policy, in which we have come in very heavily. We already have a data center policy in 2021 January, and till now we have more than 13 expression of interest with us. Approximately 20,000 crores of investment is going to come up over there. One has already started, so that is going to be another enabling concept, because my data needs to be secure, and I should be aware that my data is secure. It is, when I say I can be the government, I can be a citizen. So for each of us, that enabling part, that my data is secure, my identity is secure, and I can interact with full confidence, unless and until it is, as I said, unless and until it is breached. So that trust level has to be maintained. So for all these things, we are enabling a different level of policy initiatives. And to conclude, I would say that recently that what the technological interventions have been done in Uttar Pradesh, like in education sector, in skill development, in primary education. In skill development, for example, we have enabled it with UIDAI, Aadhaar authentication. So each and every student is mapped. So that helps in two ways. One is that actually the student takes the skill development course, and secondly, the government money doesn't go in a bad manner. Secondly, then the direct benefit transfer of primary education. Instead of giving school bags and shoes, by purchasing it and giving it to the student, we may directly transfer it to their parents. That is already in process. We are going to use it Aadhaar enabled and directly transfer the money to the concerned parent of the concerned child. So that will also enable the child and parent to help it. Next is use of GIS in urban planning. That was already there in a big way for a long time, but in recent times, as reported by the department, because we as UPDESCO see the various software initiatives of department as well. So there is more than a 20 to 22% rise in revenue of our urban bodies. So that is a very interesting part that we have seen. Latest technology, if I say, we have introduced IoT in mining. Any truck that passes through our barricade, we can always have an idea what is the mining material, whether that vehicle is, had got that Ravanna issued to it or not. What is the, if not issued, then what has been the credentials of the vehicle. So immediately, once the vehicle passes through a particular device, immediately we get each and every information. And if not in order, then each challan is immediately issued, real time. So we are in a process of, in another 1 or 2 months, we will definitely achieve it, because we are just in terms of getting it interacted with the Vahan app of Government of India. Then in power sector, we have artificial intelligence and chatbot already initiated into it. You need to pay your your electricity bill, you have any issue with your connection, you have an issue with your metering, all enabled through chatbot. Beautiful. If anyone is here in Uttar Pradesh, should take an experience of it. It is very seamless, very beautiful, developed by us. Then industry facilitation services. They are all there on the chatbot or artificial intelligence. So ultimately, what I would like to say is that Government of Uttar Pradesh is trying to proactively take participation in the digital transformation initiatives, which are being led by Government of India, of course. Thank you.
Thank you. That was Mr. Kumar Vineet, Special Secretary, IT and Electronics. mentioning about building of ecosystem based on mutual trust between the government, citizens, industry, and stakeholders. And this trust can be built only by technology, because technology weeds out that subjective element out of the entire process. So things become totally transparent and seamless. So meanwhile, we have been joined here by Mr. Golak Simili. Please join me in welcoming Golak Simili, Chief Technology Officer, Passport Seva in the Ministry of External Affairs, Government of India. A very warm welcome, Mr. Golak Simili.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now I would like to invite Mr. M. Nagarajan, 2009 batch IS officer, Director, Higher and Technical Education, Government of Gujarat, for his opening remarks on this topic of transformational governance to realize the vision of New India, the digital way. Mr. Nagarajan.
Thank you, Mr. Rajeev. This is a very apt topic because we are going through this transformation right now.
Mr. Nagarajan, your audio is not coming.
Earlier it was okay.
No, still not clear.
Okay. I'll just record the speaker.
Mr. Nagarajan, problem with your audio.
Can you take the next speaker?
Yeah. Meanwhile, I would like to invite Mr. Golak Simili to give his opening remarks on this topic.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Krishna. Let me at the outset thanks Elite Technomedia, Dr. Ravi and team for having me here. I also greet my all co-panelists who are participating on this panel discussion. Coming back to the topic, Mr. Krishna, how do you move digital way when we are moving towards a transformative governance, I say, effective governance, I say, efficient governance, I say. To my mind, there are 3-4 things come to what we have experienced, what we have learned over these years of digital kind of a way going forward. The first and foremost thing is, how do we develop a digital culture? That's very important. Unless you have a digital culture developed within your organization, within your ministry, within the stakeholder ecosystem, very important. It's not about your ministry alone, but it's also about who are your stakeholder. Do you really take them along, right? And on top of that, the citizens, the beneficiaries, are citizens feeling connected to the digital culture, digital platform, application ecosystem, whatever you have developed. Unless the citizens feels connected, unless citizens feels that the system or the digital culture or the digital platform you have created is responsive enough to the citizens' grievances, citizens' feedback, citizens' complaint, whatever we do is, I feel it is a total waste, right? And while doing that, digital culture, what we have experienced that the kind of legacy processes we carry, the kind of legacy policies we carry, the kind of legacy compliances we are carrying, each of them, it requires a 3-pronged strategy. And the first and foremost thing is you have to completely realign as per your new digital culture, as per your new digital system, as per your new business case. So how do you realign yourself, right? That is the first R. The second R is, you have to completely rethink yourself in terms of your strategy, in terms of your technology adoption, in terms of your technology know-how. So everything, you have to completely rethink yourself when you are dealing with this kind of a new era. Especially I have realized in the era of COVID-19, let's say, quickly quote me example here, when I was completely, let's say, making myself to a kind of a WFH kind of an environment, because you realize that most of our workload, most of our organizational corporate network, corporate data center, corporate application, just before the pandemic, just imagine a scenario, we were completely kind of a closed user group. We are accessing over the intranet kind of a scenario. But because of COVID-19, the environment has completely changed. You have gone into a WFH mode. You have gone over the internet, right? Now, if you are doing that kind of a cultural shift, is that your workforce is trained enough? Is that your workforce is skilled and reskilled to the new environment? And if you are doing that, is that, no, as I said, your entire ecosystem is working. It is not about you and your employees alone. It is also about your stakeholder. It is also about the citizens, right? So that is the first very important point. And when you are developing this kind of a digital culture, you also must imbibe a digital ethics. I must know where to click, where not to click, what to do, what not to do. How do you develop that digital ethics? We, every one of our know going leap and kind of a bound towards a digital transformation route, but then are you going with a digital ethics, a trusted data ecosystem? Some of our panel member was saying, do you have a trusted data ecosystem? Do you have a trusted data workflow environment? So that is very important. The second very important thing is when we are going this kind of a transformative kind of a new India, we also must understand our workload well. We also must understand our, no, when I say workload means data well. Now, let me give another example here. When I was going for a kind of a innovative kind of a business model in Passport Seva, where I was looking for a industry participative route, let me also put it very black and white here, saying that it's no more a government alone. You have to take help of our industry partners. How do you create an industry participative route? And the moment you are entering towards an industry participative route, the very important factor comes to our mind is, do you really understand your data? Do you really understand what is critical for you, what is sovereign for you, what is non-critical for you, what is fiduciary data for you, what is confidential data for you, what is no public data for you? And unless you understand that, how do you take an industry private participative route? So that is very important. Really, we need to understand our workload. And when I say workload, especially what kind of workload I am dealing with. It is a critical workload. Is it a non-critical workload? Here also, I want to also quote another example. You will now realize that most of our workload is going towards a cloud kind of an environment, right? Now, the moment you are moving out from your own premises workload towards a cloud kind of a workload, it's very important to also understand that which is the workload, especially in terms of government, you are moving towards the cloud, which is the workload you are dealing on premises, which is the workforce which is dealing with the cloud kind of a workload, which is the workforce which is dealing with the on-premises workload. And beauty of kind of a Passport Seva program, we have both kind of workload. Some of my workload is service from the cloud, and some of my workload is being rendered from the on-premises data center. So this is very second very important point. The third very important point which I mentioned, that you must now innovate and innovate. Innovate in terms of business model, innovate in terms of technology adoption, innovate in terms of technology refreshment. And again, while you are innovating this kind of a new business model, the beauty is you get all of those things. You get the technology refreshment in time, you get the technology upgradation in time, you get that kind of a capacity building and training in time, which is again very important. I'm telling you, when I was starting the Passport Seva program, I delayed my program for 1 year just because of this kind of a training and skilling was required. Just imagine this kind of a huge program we are starting, how much time you need to kind of a get into that kind of a digital environment. And it's not one point. Another very kind of a mistake we do is we feel that it's one-time job. No, it's absolutely not one-time job. It's a continuous exercise. So that kind of skilling, reskilling, training, capacity building you are needing, that must be imbibed as part of the program. It is all time to come. It is continuous, and it's kind of it's a continuous journey, I'll say, so which you have to do. The third last thing I would mention here, Krishna ji is saying that whatever we do, the digital ecosystem, digital way, digital adoption, digital readiness, whatever we do, you must ensure that the system is responsive. Responsive in a sense, responsive in terms of myself, in terms of my business, in terms of my management, in terms of my stakeholders, and also responsive in terms of the citizens and masses at large. Let me give another small example here. When I was launching the Passport Seva program in a digital way, the first problem came to my mind is, how do I deal with the digital divide? How do I deal with a poor chap, residing in a village who doesn't have access to internet, who doesn't have access to laptop or desktop at home? How do I deal with that? So is that the digital culture or the digital platform you are creating, or the service delivery ecosystem you are creating? Is that in a way responsive to the last man standing in a corner of a village? And believe me, the Passport Seva program, whether you are applying in Delhi or Mumbai, or a person applying from Leh and Ladakh, or a remote village of, let's say, Jharkhand or Bihar, everybody feel the same. But how do you create that kind of a responsive ecosystem? So that's very important. So that's how
Thank you, Mr. Golak. Thank you. In fact, we are running short of time now. We have actually overshot the time limit. Mr. Kumar Vinit is staring at me. My apologies to him also. So without taking much time, I now invite Mr. M. Nagarajan, and hats off to the Ministry of External Affairs, Mr. Golak Simili. Golak is a routine speaker in the conference circuit. Your Passport Seva is an amazing software, and I myself have practiced this, and it is one of the finest government services software available these days. So hats off to the entire Ministry of External Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Krishna.
Mr. Nagarajan, if you can have your views for next 5-6 minutes, please.
Yeah. Can you hear me now proper?
Yes, now Pakka, perfect.
Thank you. And it has been a very wonderful array of panelists that you have assembled today, wide-ranging topics of IT digitalization and this transformation that has been happening across the last decade, but strongly catalyzed in the last 2 years, I can say, especially because of the pandemic. And now many of the programs that were introduced long time back are now have to look at their version 2.0, because now there are upgradation challenges that are required because of technological transformations. I'm really amazed at how things at scale are managed. When we are serving 1 billion people, especially the Passport Seva, which has just been mentioned. Same way, the kind of applications that are built in the states also. I would like to just throw 3 or 4 points that I have personally experienced in the recent pandemic situation, that suddenly we were forced to go for online education, and everyone was thinking that it will happen somewhere in the future, maybe 5 years or so, and suddenly in the 5th day you are supposed to go online. That is what happened, and we could galvanize to this challenge across all the higher education institutions, government colleges, grant-in-aid colleges, and all that. And we explored various solutions and tied up with some of the big solution providers, and the change management, and technical support to the people, and having a buy-in from them to accept, and also continuous hand-holding for them to make them feel comfortable with the new system and all that. At the same time, we also started building internal workflow solutions, because we were stuck with not having data timely, and also how many Google Forms that we can manage, and every time asking the same type of data again and again. So we started building common platform solutions, which is called the Udayam project, and then we created a common gateway for education and technology. And some of the things that we could do was, we introduced a single sign-on for all the users, and we were able to combine the workflows into the single platform. And initially it was very challenging to get people on board and get them accepted to this new way of working and all that. Within 3 months, the situation changed, because people started seeing the benefit of working online. And some of the functions which were not earlier envisaged in this platform, they started making queries that we also want to be now included, because it is going to be very useful to them. So this kind of value perception by the stakeholders is very, very important challenge. But if it is overcome, then it becomes the biggest energy, biggest tailwind for the project to take off and all that. And buoyed by this kind of enthusiasm, we could also introduce the NIC's e-office platform for paperless solutions. And in fact, we started with a very simple 200 user project for 3 months. And suddenly the demand exploded, and everyone said that now it is much more convenient because, and with digital signatures also. Now we are already 500 strong users and quickly going to scale to 5,000 users. And we are just moving on. And it all ensues a lot of challenges in terms of, aligning the stakeholders, training and engagement. So every Thursday we have, sort of open session to discuss with our internal stakeholders and all that. This is some of the examples which I am saying is happening at the micro level, particularly where I am personally been involved, and the results are very transformative. Looking at the broader level now, India is one of the nations which is having cheap broadband rates. We are somewhere 4th cheapest or 5th cheapest in the world. That provides an opportunity for us to transform the inclusive impact that we require. And we all know that the National Fiber Optic Network and BharatNet is also there in all the villages and all that. But in order to use that, we need a governance framework where we provide a platformatic access to all the service providers. And that is still yet to be a challenge that we need to be cracked. And then Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, mobile and all the platforms are now taken as a given. And we also looking at authenticating using the Aadhaar eSign mode for various activities. So now the challenge for administrators like me, or the opportunity, is that we should use these platforms that are available for better integration, not standalone systems, and also look at creation of architecture in such a way that they are cloud scalable hybrid model with good backup and disaster management solutions, and then provide it everywhere on demand available, of course, with security, which has been stressed again and again. I would like to again reiterate that point. And with this, I would wrap up my comments, and thanks for having me here. And it has been wonderful hearing all the experiences of the speakers in the panel today.
Thank you, Mr. Nagarajan, for that inspiring talk. And in fact, we have overshot the time limit because initially there were 3-4 of us, then you joined and Golakji joined. And I wish that we could have got another 10 minutes to have some cross-questioning from both of you and to hear some viewpoints from Dr. Lal Thumoana also, but I'm extremely sorry the time is not permitting me. This is a day-long conference. We have got whole day deliberations today as well as tomorrow, and keep hooked on. I would request my backend team to present with the customary speaker certificates. This certificate for Mr. M. Nagarajan, Commissioner and Director, Higher and Technical Education Department, Government of Gujarat. Thank you, Mr. Nagarajan, for coming here, taking out time, coming here and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.
We had Dr. Ashish Kumar Srivastav, Additional Secretary IT and Director ITDA in Government of Uttarakhand. He had to leave early because of a meeting with his Chief Secretary of Uttarakhand. Thanks to him in his absence, Dr. Ashish Kumar Srivastava. We had Dr. Hira Lal, who again gave a very inspiring talk on his model of the model Gaon, taking technology to the grassroots level and empowering communities through e-tools. So thank you again, Dr. Hira Lal in absentia. Dr. Hira is Mission Director, National Health Mission, Government of UP. We have with us Mr. Kumar Vineet right now, Special Secretary and MD, Department of IT and Electronics, and MD of Uttar Pradesh Development Systems Corporation Limited. Thank you, Mr. Kumar Vineet, for outlining Government of UP's initiatives in the field of information technology. And we had Dr. Lal Thumoana, Joint Secretary, Information Technology and CEO of Mizoram State E-Governance Society, Mizoram State. Thank you, sir, for taking out time and coming here. And finally, we had from the Government of India, Ministry of External Affairs, Chief Technology Officer, Passport Seva, Mr. Golak Simili. Golakji, thank you once again from Elite Techno Media for taking out time. And again, at the cost of repetition, my apologies to all of you for this real lack of time. This is a virtual seminar, and after the given deadline, the link will simply expire. So my apologies and best wishes to all of you. Keep you in, meet you in next panel discussions in near future. Thank you and bye-bye all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ra. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.